We went to all of our clients and said, we're shifting over to AI voice. We'll give you a free demo. We'll transition. We can have some of our staff play backup, but we're doing this. And we lost half our clients.
Oh.
We want our clients to be very invested in how we model and coach the AI. It's not like some big machines coming in to replace everything. I think the big value is going to be the ability to build this thing how you want it. So we're working with the development team on several integrations. And at this point, it's basically pulling information from the phone call and putting information into FieldPulse. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But I think over time, AI is going to become a more warmer buzzword.
All right, Mr. Charlie Felker in the house.
Daniel, good to see you again.
You too, man. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I love being here. It's been a great visit, great company, great partner.
Good food. Yep.
Good food.
All the stuff. I'm still full, man. Well, so Mr. Charlie Felker here from Free2Grow. We talked quite a while ago. It was over a year ago when we did a version of the FieldPulse podcast. I don't remember what version it was, but that was once upon a time. But we've moved on and moved up from there.
Yeah.
So finally here in person. So kind of meeting you all over again. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's been a long time. Things have changed a lot, I'd say. Certainly with your business, my business, home services in general. But I'm a St. Louis native. Grew up in St. Louis. Went away for the Army and went to West Point for college and served 5 years in the Army. Got out.
Your service.
Thank you, Daniel. Got out around 2011. And basically became an entrepreneur. I started a home service-ish kind of business. We would modify people's homes so they can live at home longer. It's kind of a demographic called aging in place, and we would widen doors and install ramps and
meet all the ADA requirements.
Yes, exactly.
That you could.
Yeah. And there's some mechanical installation components. You see those stair lifts that go up and down people's stairs, and elevators and platform lifts and ceiling lifts. So there was some kind of technical install part of what we did. So it certainly, I would say, fits in the trade space.
Yeah, definitely.
So started that business, ran that business. I bought a similar business in Buffalo, New York along the way.
Wow.
And then was approached by a big company and ended up selling my business in 2019.
All right.
And upon selling that company, I got immediately into Free2Grow. I felt like when I was owning and operating my, home service business, answering the phone and scheduling leads and booking within a CRM and maintaining kind of office, administrative requirements was cumbersome. And I think it's cumbersome for a lot of owner operators. So I was like, well, if I was to do, my former business over again, what would I have done differently? And I would have outsourced that kind of stuff to a business like Free2Grow. So I'm like, it sounds like a good idea. Let's launch another business. And so I did. So
you started Free2Grow.
I did. Started Free2Grow around 2019.
Okay.
Shortly after I sold my home service business.
Okay.
It was an idea that, I had issues with, my office staff and answering the phone and scheduling. I felt like I needed somebody, but I didn't need somebody 40 hours a week. So why don't I just go out and start a kind of an outsourced customer service business? And so Free2Grow was born.
So you started it from the ground up. You didn't buy it from someone else that maybe fledgling. So you completely started
it with nothing.
Okay.
And, would I do it again? Yeah, I think I would. There's pros and cons to starting from zero versus buying. So I appreciate any entrepreneur who started from zero and had to kind of, sharp elbow their way to success.
Run through your initial, I don't want to call it your business plan, but your initial vision for Free2Grow. I know you said you kind of your inspiration behind it, but where did you see Free2Grow when you started it? Did you have an aim? Did you have a destination where you wanted to be, or were you just kind of, let's just go and let's just see what happens?
Yeah, good question. So the initial vision of Free2Grow, I don't think we had like an end place or an end goal. I think we're like, there's a lot of people like Charlie out there, owner operators on the truck, on the ladder, can't answer the phone, need some better help than just kind of a generic call center. So we tried to be kind of a white glove, service for some of these companies.
All right. So you start Free2Grow. How did you get your first 10 customers?
So we got our first 10 customers probably by seeing vans on the highway and saying, hey, I saw your truck. Here's what we do. So it was all local, right?
Okay.
We had some local contacts that we would go to initially. So we probably got the first 5 of the 10 that way, saying, hey, we're starting our business. This is what it is. Do you have any interest? No, but I know somebody that does. And so we got connected that way.
Okay.
But we were very scrappy. I mean, we were probably to the point of stupid sometimes, like no kidding, seeing a guy parked, in front of a job site and going up and giving my card and say, hey, looks like you're busy. If you need some help, here's what we do.
Okay.
Right.
So here's what we do. What did you do in the very beginning?
Yeah. So it's a great point. So Free2Grow in the very beginning, we had 2 CSRs, customer service reps, that would answer phones for our clients.
Okay.
And so we had those CSRs answer phones, and then we would get, our clients' CRM information, and then book those calls and then populate the CRM with that information. As we got more mature, we would start to do outbound calling, happy calls, kind of the home service stuff in the CSR realm. But initially it was just taking calls.
Okay. So how did you grow and scale that business? What were you, I guess the question I'm trying to ask, were you leading with growth, or were you trying to play catch up? Because there's 2 ways that people do things, right? Where you'll grow so much and then try and find enough customers to keep all those people busy, or you'll hire just enough staff and then just work them and work them and work, and then they'll start asking for help, and then okay, yes, I'll find you some help. And so, which road did you take?
The balance, Daniel, is really tough, and the legacy Free2Grow business was very tough.
Okay,
we had no problem selling. I think we could articulate what we're doing and how we can help our clients.
Okay.
The problem was we would sign 10 clients in a given summer, and let's say they're all HVAC clients taking a ton of calls, right? So we need to staff up. We'd staff up, the companies would get slow and say, hey, we probably don't need you guys for the winter, right? So we're staffed up, call volumes down.
Got a bunch of people
typically off season. Yeah, people sitting around, not a lot of clients being onboarded. And so we consistently had this seesaw where we'd sign a bunch, and then we'd hire, we'd lose, we'd drop, hire. It was a tough business that way.
Okay.
So any chance that we could jump on technology or improvements in technology to streamline sort of the human factor of it, we were all about that.
So what were some early innovations that y'all saw, and maybe if you made an early mistake on some technology innovations that?
Yeah, early technology innovations, a good question. So Slack was very helpful. Okay. All of our employees at a certain point were all remote, so being able to communicate. And I think with AI, we were pretty early adopters. We built an AI model, so to speak, that integrate with Slack, where we could upload a client's SOP, a Word document. Let's just keep it simple. Like what zip codes, what's the service area for this client?
Okay.
And then our CSR could type that into Slack and get a whole list really quickly. And so that CSR could service like 3 or 4 clients pretty easily.
Okay.
By just inputting. They could be on with a live client. Client asks the questions like, do you do, shrub trimming? Well, I'm not sure. Let me check it out. And yes or no, we do shrub trimming. So we could come up with like good solutions pretty quickly.
Okay.
That helped us scale a little bit. There was still, it wasn't perfect, but
sure,
I think we were pretty good at that.
Okay.
We also over time felt like it was better to just book a call, right? And it's tough because some clients have different booking standards than others. And so this was probably a mistake where we're like, you know what, if we book the call, our client is probably not going to be super upset, because we could always go back and reschedule, or if we can't do the service, not do it. But that was a mistake we made. I feel like we just overbooked, and some people liked it and some clients didn't. And if they didn't like it, then, sorry. Yeah. So it was a tough business to kind of be in.
Okay.
Very client specific, still very human. Some clients wanted it this way, some that way. And it just over time got difficult.
Okay. So you touched on AI there briefly. You got something big coming with AI. What's Free2Grow doing with AI?
Yeah. So Free2Grow with AI, we made a very deliberate pivot in May of 2024. we had heard a couple AI voice recordings on a home service Facebook channel. And then my partner Nathan sent me these recordings, and we call each other almost simultaneously, and we're like, holy cow. Okay. This is coming. And this is coming for our business in a positive way. Okay. So all the challenges that I've laid out, the scalability challenges, the consistency, the quality, providing a consistent 24/7 solution for answering the phone has been an industry-wide challenge, I think.
And the variability that you talked about. How some people want it done a certain way and other people want it done a different way.
So coaching, modeling, whatever you want to call it.
Great way to put it.
So when we look at this, like, man, this is probably something that all the frustrations we've had over the past 4 or 5 years with Free2Grow, and all of the frustrations that our clients have and not our clients, it's kind of an industry problem, right? AI could be a pretty good solution for this. We'd be stupid not to look at this. So we actually got connected with our now Chief Technology Officer, Jerry E., who built a model, and we partnered with Jerry. Jerry's now our CTO, and we went to all of our clients in April and said, we're shifting over to AI voice. We'll give you a free demo. We'll transition. We can have some of our staff play backup, but we're doing this. Okay. And we lost half our clients. Left. Okay.
Oops.
So it was tough, right?
Yeah.
Half our clients stayed on, half said, I don't even want to try the demo account. Not interested. Okay. We've obviously retained the half and then some. So as far as a business pivot, it was quick, but it had to be done, and it was the right move.
Sure.
But April, May, June were tough, right? We went from having a full staff of CSRs down to just one. A lot of, office culture challenges. Obviously, we went from a very human-based CSR business to kind of a technology company in a matter of like weeks.
Wow.
But we're not looking back. We've got 2 really good developers, and we retained one of our legacy CSRs who now manages all of our onboarding.
Okay.
Because we think it's nice to have somebody that's been answering phones for home service companies for the last 12 years to like listen to calls, understand what calls should sound like, improvements in scripting.
Yeah.
All that kind of the human touch of what we're doing needs to still be there. So
you're able to, or at least you're aiming for that human touch at scale.
Mm-hmm.
So what your CSR now is doing it, like you said, listening to calls, modifying script. She knows enough, and she has enough experience to put a little and or a but or an extra little word or an extra little caveat in there of what that call might need in that instance.
Yeah, Gabrielle brings a lot of knowledge. So she's very smart. She's right. It's like the first part of each conversation and the last part of each conversation are typically where people are really like paying attention. Okay. So getting the introduction right with AI is key. And then closing the conversation is key.
Okay.
And she does a good job. So like in the middle, you're kind of getting, your address and your email and confirm. So people kind of zone out there, but you got like the first introduction is really important. Getting the customer comfortable, making sure the AI is articulate, understanding, listening, and then you collect the information, and then you kind of finish strong.
Okay.
Like, our technician's going to call you when they're on their way. Anything else I can do for you? Okay, have a good day.
Okay.
So she does a really good job, and she also will point out things like we have a big electrical client we support, and a tornado came through, and so power's out, right? And so somebody said, my power's out. I was hit by a storm, and the AI would say, okay, great. It's like, no.
Oh, no.
It's not.
Don't do this.
It's not. This is not great. So she's got a good ear for that stuff.
Yeah.
And not to say our developers don't, but you're like, nah, it's no. So, okay. Sorry to hear that. How can we help you? You've got to get back down to that human level.
Yeah.
So she's really kind of a good check on some of the technology.
That's a funny little scenario of catching and then coaching, training that AI for keywords of like storm and lost and not working and just little phrases like that when you don't want to say, All right, that sounds great.
Yeah.
No, not
Okay,
great.
great. No, it's not. No,
my house is flooded.
half my back
okay, great.
Yeah.
No, not great.
Yeah. And I mentioned April, May, we got into the AI. It's certainly where we are today. Early September, it's so much better, and it's gonna continue to be that way. Like latency, kind of the fluctuation of the voice is better. It's far less awkward.
Yeah, that's we were talking before we hopped on, and that's one thing that I didn't say earlier in our conversation, but that the inflection of the voice I've noticed has gotten better, and and you can hear it in just AI that narrates videos that you watch, on YouTube or whatever. You can tell when it's just a robot and it's just talking and it's monotone, but they're getting better at the inflections, the questions, the little ooh at the end, how your voice gets higher at the very end of the question. You can hear the question mark or the exclamation point when they, the voice just gets louder when they want you to really listen to something, how we do. And I've noticed those little changes getting better and better and better.
Well, like a good CSR is a chippy, happy person. So you kind of want to have that. Anything I can do for you, Yeah. So look, it's going to continue to improve. All these, like ChatGPT will have new releases. Everything will get better and better and better. I'm quite confident of that. It's just, how can you make an AI? What we're trying to do is how do you make an AI voice, solution that is providing, comprehensive, complete solutions for the home service businesses.
So was there anything so you made the pivot, you made the decision. You could also say that you paid the price for it for a little while.
We did.
You lost some of your clients. Was there a roadmap that you had in place of here's the next 10 steps we're going to take? Or were y'all, I know y'all met Jerry and you got the technology. What was there a roadmap to get the change and make the change successful?
Yeah.
Or were y'all kind of in uncharted territory and let's just kind of figure it out? But we know that this is the way to go.
So the roadmap, it's a good question. So it's probably both.
Okay.
We knew we had to bring on another developer, which we did. Ben Brimacombe, who's our chief science officer, because we had to get Jerry, because Jerry was kind of doing a lot of different things. And we had to get him focused on improvements to the core AI infrastructure, which he's done. Making it sound better, more human, working with FieldPulse, CRM integrations, all that outbound capabilities, all the stuff that we're, getting to. So we had to bring on another developer. We had to bring on an onboarding specialist. And then we brought on John, our other employee who kind of listens to calls, does quality assurance, stuff like that. So we had some improvements and we had to kind of steady the ship as a business. But yeah, I think long-term, at some point it's going to be not necessarily a one-to-one CSR replacement, but it's going to take on more and more of what, a traditional CSR does, especially with phone activity, inbound and outbound calling. At some point we're it's probably going to be very good one-to-one kind of example of what they do.
Okay.
And we've always kind of thought that. How and when we get there is a different question, but it's at the end of our, ultimately that was what we thought and where we think this is going to be.
Okay. Y'all had said earlier, you had said earlier when we were talking about CSR being able to obviously make a schedule, make appointments, answer simple questions, which led into something that I thought was very fascinating that you said about being able to upload into the AI of just simple technical questions that somebody might want to ask about, hey, my AC's not working. And in a scenario, hey, my AC's not cooling. Okay, what is your thermostat? All the little questions about a thermostat or when's the last time your unit was serviced or some other things. And then being able to talk to that, what you were saying about being able to,
any manual or written information can be uploaded and implemented in the model. Okay. So the example we were talking about was a, not necessarily a home service company, but a medical equipment manufacturer that gets a ton of calls for like troubleshooting issues.
And this is what you've already done.
We've already done this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've already done
So
it.
the ability to like upload a manual, frequently asked questions, and then procedures, push this button, pull this lever, turn this switch, whatever it is. And then also to be able to shoot a textable YouTube video of that fix when the AI diagnoses it. Right. So, you know, that's a big solution if you're an HVAC company or a medical equipment manufacturer in this case, and a client's calling in at 2 a.m. to be able to provide a service over the phone versus dealing with it at 9 o'clock in the morning when everybody gets to work. So there's certainly a lot of value add right now with AI. It's certainly got its cons. I'll be the first to admit it, but there's a lot of things that it can bring as far as information. We can't overload it with information. It can take 100 calls at once. You know, a lot of those things that were kind of bottlenecks for your traditional kind of, you know, call center, CSR, like whatever it is.
Human attention span.
Like, you know, more pros sticking to the script, right?
Yeah.
Is a tough one.
Yeah.
It's got no problem telling somebody what the service fee is and then mandate that. And I know because our former CSRs would have a hard time trying to extract, you know, payments from people and stuff like that. So there's definitely pros and cons, but it's the pros list is getting a little bit bigger than the cons list, in my opinion, right now.
Yeah, and I can imagine coming from a construction background, and it's part of my role here, and part of the reason I'm here is I'm the translator. I'm the guy that understands the language that the trades use, and everybody has a different word for something, especially in California versus New York versus Illinois versus Florida versus Texas here. Different things are called slightly different things all over the country, and guys have their own jargon, or, you know, trades, whatever you want to call them, have their own lingo and their jargon all over the country. And so, and it's not major. It's not anything, you know, it's not like a new language or something, but little keywords that are different here and there. And that's what you're talking about, is training this AI model to over time pick up on those little itty bitty little things to just make incremental improvements as it goes along.
Great point. We want our clients to be very invested in how we model and coach the AI, right? Scripting, like responses to different parts of the day, right?
Yes.
How we're dispatching.
Good morning, good afternoon.
And so there's so much nuance here. And our most successful like case study clients are ones that are very involved throughout onboarding, testing the system themselves, seeing what it can do, what it can't do, providing feedback. Hey, you know, a frequent call I get is like power outages, right? As to use my former example, let's respond this way in this area.
Okay.
These people prefer that.
Okay.
All right. You know, you can create it so it's very fit for your business.
Okay.
It's not like some big machines coming in to replace everything. I think the big value is going to be the ability to build this thing how you want it.
And something that you had said earlier about answering simple questions and uploading any kind of FAQ, that takes the busy work. I feel I think I'm interpreting what you're saying is it's taken a lot of the mundane little tasks off of, if somebody does have a CSR in their office, I would want to build the Free2Grow system in a way that it would take all of these simple things off my plate.
Yeah.
Scheduling appointments, you know, especially maintenance visits for next month.
Spam calls.
Oh, Lord.
Calls, somebody ordering a pizza, calling in your plumbing company. I mean, you know, you laugh, but all the crap that comes in, you know, because we measure this and like we look at what's a valid call, right?
Okay.
We have successful calls where it could be a complete call where the AI goes through the whole script. And then we have valid calls where like, okay, this is a legitimate person calling the right company for the right issues, right? Okay. You know, our valid calls is it's like a much smaller percent. So it's like how many calls are calling in, people selling you something, confirming something, you know, all that stuff now is off your CSR's plate.
Yeah.
So it's a big part of the day, and interrupting, right? They're working on something for the growth of the company and they get pulled aside 3 or 4 times an hour
Yeah.
to pick up the phone and spam, or it's a solicitor, or it's a credit card company, or this or that. AI is handling all those calls.
Yeah.
So that's a benefit.
So exactly. And a benefit of you now being me as a business owner, let's say, hiring a CSR, and they are much more of a specialist position than a generalist.
Right.
You know, I'm gonna need you to answer 40 phone calls a day. Well, now I only need you to answer 12.
Yeah.
And those 12 are gonna matter.
Yeah.
Because they've made it through the AI.
Right.
You know, and whatever they need, they cannot get done. And AI is just suggest, hey, let me get one of my team members on the phone for you because this ain't working.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
So, all right. So you mentioned briefly about the integration and populating things inside of a CRM like FieldPulse. What does our integration look like? How are we working together? What's FieldPulse and Free2Grow doing?
What I love about FieldPulse is the very nimble, right? So we're working with the development team on several integrations, and at this point, it's basically pulling information from the phone call and putting information into FieldPulse, right? And most of that's tied to scheduling, right? So appointments, service calls. So, but over time, as the relationship builds and our functionality builds to outbound calling, scheduling maintenance appointments, booking after hours emergency calls, that's where the integration is going to go.
Okay.
In my opinion. So we're just now like starting out. Yeah, obviously I'm here now. We've got a formal integration in place. We've got a neat integration video with FieldPulse on our website, which is very basic. So for those that want to hear and see how it works, we go through a live call, and then you can see that call getting put into your FieldPulse schedule.
Okay.
So that's like, we're kind of at first base.
Okay.
But as our technology improves, and again, we're going to make incremental improvements to our technology that's only going to benefit the home service owner operator. I'm not interested in answering calls for a salon or a dental clinic or a legal firm. I want to get good at an AI voice happy call, right? Or booking an Angie lead that comes in and simultaneously turning around, calling that appointment, getting it booked, and then getting that information in FieldPulse.
Okay.
Working with FieldPulse to identify clients you haven't spoken to or touched in 6 months. Can we create an automatic trigger to do, a maintenance call? Stuff like that is where I think this is going to go.
That's exactly the kinds of calls that I had when I had my own business. I had an assistant, Tiffany, working for me. And that's one thing I had her do was call periodically just to check up on the work that I did.
Right.
In my handyman business, I had her call at certain increments and certain times just to re-engage. It was never a sales call. It was just a re-engagement, what you call a happy call. Just a re-engagement. Hey, just want to make sure that work that Daniel did a month ago is still good. Everything's still good. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 months, 6 months, 9 months. Just as a touch point to keep in touch with my customers. And when I hired her and I tasked her with that, I don't remember the numbers exactly, but I do remember thinking, oh, this is working. Not only as a touch point with my customers as like being nice or whatever, but also I can't tell you how many times that call turned into, oh, thank God you called. I've been needing to call you. I've been busy. Oh, I lost your number. Oh, thank God you called because I got this.
Yeah.
And well, wouldn't you know it? Well, I got an opening on my schedule in 5 days, and next Monday I can be there. And boom, there you go. You just re-engage the customer.
Well, look, when I ran my home service company, we'd install those stair lifts that go up and down, help people go from the first floor to second floor.
I've taken a couple joy rides on a couple of those.
They need preventative maintenance, right?
Yes.
So we would sell maintenance, and then you kind of forget about it. God, I wish I could call these 15 people. Like I know every owner operator kind of thinks that way in their truck or at home.
Yeah.
I got to have a system to do this. So if there's a way for us to do that, automated through AI in partnership with FieldPulse, that's what we're going for.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right. So FieldPulse talks to Free2Grow. Actually, it all comes from Free2Grow because y'all are making the phone calls. Y'all are booking it. It comes into FieldPulse. Is there anything that goes back? Is there any reason for FieldPulse to go back to Free2Grow? The instance that I'm thinking of is what we were talking about earlier with scheduling. is it a back and forth relationship? The integration, is it talk? I'm not technical,
It
so
might
I don't
be
know.
not right now. It's not, but it might be down the road. I can see that with back and forth communication, depending on what we're asking.
Okay.
It depends on how complicated we get with like some of the outbound calls or like payment processing. I don't know, right? But right now it's essentially Free2Grow putting information in FieldPulse.
Okay.
I think you're saying just FieldPulse, could we have a two-way conversation potentially down the road though, I'd say.
Keeping in the theme of conversations and AI, I'm wondering, okay, Free2Grow, your AI system makes the call, books the call, puts that on your schedule in FieldPulse. Is there ever anything that the AI would need to know from FieldPulse?
Yeah. So like capacity, availability in the calendar is a big one right now.
Okay.
Right. So we want to be able to call, like, let's say a client wants to book in 2-hour increments. So the AI has got to look into FieldPulse and say, okay, we can do 8 to 10, or we can do 12 to 2. Can't do 2 to 4. We can do 4 to 6. So that's like numero uno right now, is getting that right.
Okay.
And that's what we've been working on with Jared, the product team here.
Yeah.
Is making sure when a call comes in, client has an issue, needs it fixed. They recommend Wednesday at 9 a.m. Everybody kind of has a time. I'm open tomorrow at 9 a.m. Can you come then? Well, we can't do 9. We also notifying the client how the company works. Like we do 2-hour increments. Technician's going to call you when they're 30 minutes from the job site. So, but we've got to have that availability to be able to recommend time slots.
Sure. And that's what you said earlier,
customizable,
about sticking to the script, where somebody might forget to say that.
Yeah.
The AI never forgets to say, oh, by the way, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing every single time.
Yeah. And I've seen that. It can be a little maddening. Not, CSRs are busy running around, walking around the office with their notepad, with the phone against their ear. Did they say 10:30 or 11:30? And then all of our calls get a text kind of manuscript gets sent to the owner or the office manager or the general manager. So they kind of throughout the day know what's going on with each call.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the message that gets sent out, what kind of metrics do you guys, I know you said earlier you track your successful call rates. Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
What other kind of stuff are y'all looking at? Are y'all tracking?
We're obsessed with booking rate because I know owners are.
Okay.
We've had months where we're booking up to 70% of calls.
Wow.
Now, typically that's not on day one. Those are our legacy clients that we've got the model very coached, how they want it, scripting, latency's better. AI knows the business better. There's more data involved in that business.
Okay.
So that's one we watch closely.
Okay.
Success calls, basically, AI had a back and forth with somebody and kind of went through how we scripted it. And then that could be ordering pizza. If, we get a whole variety of calls, you'd be stunned. But then a successful call is somebody calls, has a legitimate product issue, service issue. They're calling the company they meant to call, and they go through the script, right? And then we have the booking rate call, which is a % of the viable calls.
Okay.
Right. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that's past. We've covered the present. What about the future? What's next?
Well, we take a lot of input from clients. Okay. We have right now, most of our clients are focused on using our AI voice tool for after hours and overflow. Okay. So we're coming out with an after hours suite, which is our way of saying, hey, we see the demand is after 5 o'clock, right? Or after hours. And so we're doing some really cool things, with like dispatching after hours emergency technicians, being able to field a call after hours, notify a technician, notify the customer, and have that like back and forth dialogue.
Okay.
It's quite impressive.
All right.
So there's certainly some inbound functionality there. And then there's certainly some outbound functionality.
Okay.
Which we're in beta, almost complete with beta.
Okay.
Okay. And I think where we go from there, as we mentioned, happy calls, scheduling maintenance calls, customer communication. I think that's kind of the next frontier.
So I think what some people watching this might be having in the back of their mind, or maybe even afraid of, I don't want to say that, but at least having in the back of their mind is, if this AI is making outbound calls, and there is a big focus right now on cutting down spam calls at the government level. How are you threading that needle?
Yeah.
With making outbound calls, and you said earlier this thing can handle 100 calls at once.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
This thing's going to make 100 phone calls at once. What if they all say yes?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do like stick with happy calls. Like we have to trigger it in a way where it's not 100 calls. I mean, it has to be like, technician just left the home. We had a warm interaction. You don't want to do a happy call with some pissed off client that's basement's flooded, as an example, right? So we have to have some thoughtful triggers and mechanisms in place. And again, this is how you work with a FieldPulse, right?
Yep.
What box get checked, for a simple term.
Okay.
So we can trigger AI to make a call where it's, Mrs. Smith, this is Jenny. I'm an AI virtual assistant for Bob's Plumbing. I know our technician just left. How'd it go? Right.
Okay.
Maybe text the Google review link. There's some things that we could do that are very automated and controlled. Yeah. We don't want to be a spammy. And I think people are going to be hesitant for any like payment information right now with AI. I don't see people like forking over their credit cards. I think it's got to be very home service specific, but not overarching where we're asking for credit card information. I mean, that to me is probably a overreach right now.
Okay.
Maybe down the road, but I think people are going to get more and more comfortable. I really do, talking to AI. There's a lot of pros and cons now. Technology's getting better, but it's frankly a more efficient conversation. Okay.
Yeah, you said earlier that call times are down.
Call times are down. I mean, a 4-minute average talk time is probably 2 minutes. And I know like thematically people probably are less patient than ever, wanting to get their problem fixed quicker. But sometimes texting that back and forth can be a challenge too. I candidly think people might appreciate having a more transactional conversation with AI about their problems and getting it scheduled quicker. Might be wrong. I've listened to plenty of phone calls where an individual recognized they were talking to AI and we're completely okay with it. And we're just transactional, right? Here's my problem. Here's my availability.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye. I know you might lose some of the softer side of it sometimes, but it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But I think over time, AI is going to become a more warmer buzzword for services like this.
Yeah. And I agree. And I agree to the terms that we were talking about a minute, at least that I was talking about a minute ago, where it'll take off the busy work.
Right.
It can do the simple stuff very efficiently, very effectively, and then leave your CSRs, the people in your business, to be specialists.
Yeah.
And not have to answer questions about, well, go over, to your thermostat and let's see if it's on. Let's make sure it's on. And what does the thing, the little icon say or whatever. I don't need to waste my technician's time with that. He's busy. Yeah. I'm trying to keep him busy.
Yeah.
And the ladies in the office, they're doing vehicle registrations and trying to schedule inspections, and they're paying all the bills and they're scheduling all the things that they have to do all day long. On top of, most people are parents or they have a life outside of, other things that need to be done besides work. And so let's take some of that busy work off of their shoulders and just let the easy stuff, let the computers do the easy stuff for you.
I agree.
I agree. I've thought ever since this AI thing really came out and then the buzzwords and the lore around it, and I started to look and read and see what's kind of going on. And I don't know if this is my own opinion. I like to think it is. It might not be. I think it'll be an amazing assistant to a lot of people. I think it'll make a lot of people much more efficient. I think it's going to, unfortunately, I think it's going to replace a few jobs, but those jobs were not inspiring, or they're not, fulfilling work anyways, because it's just
taking calls is tough.
Yeah.
I did it. I'm sure you did it.
I've taken a few.
You don't know what you're getting when that phone rings. So it's tough.
So, all right. So, what comes after that?
It's a great question. We're just going to go where the demand takes us.
Okay.
We've been in home services. I've been in home services a long time. So we're just going to be very focused on problems that we can solve with our tool for this space.
Okay.
Period. The end. So I do like the trajectory we're on. Doing partnerships with FieldPulse is big because I think the integrating and integrating together is our technology. If we can introduce this, FieldPulse can help with the integration side of it. And then ultimately our clients are good, right? Because they get the information uploaded, processed, tracked, etc.
Yep.
That's where we're going to be as a business. So as we introduce little new betas for outbound calling and happy calls and responding to Angie leads and all that stuff, we ultimately want to grow with you guys and make updates correspondingly.
That sounds like fun, man. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for being here.
Love being here. Good to see you.
All right, man.
We'll do it again.
Cool. Later.